Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k 8th edition reveal video. Today's video will be more of a Know Thy Enemy video. For today we shall be covering the faction focus of the Eldar. Now, true guardsmen, all of you, we've all felt the wrath of the Eldar over the last few editions. 6th edition Eldar were brutally powerful. 7th edition, there was much hope that the faction would be reined in, that they would be levelled. That was not the case. The Wraith Knight, a model that was already infamous, was buffed even further for no additional points cost. Warp spiders became almost impossible for us to defeat without a good bayonet charge. And last but most certainly not least, the Wind Rider jet bike, the scatter laser jet bike spam, shredded line after line of brave guardsmen. Eldar players could get away with just taking Wind Rider jetbikes backed up by Farseers and just misfortune any of our heavy armour and rend it to death. I have been on the receiving end. As a guard commander, I have tried everything to beat competitive Eldar lists. We're talking scatterbike lists, Wraith Knight spam lists. But it's all been for nothing. I have struggled. But I can honestly tell you, against a top tier Eldar Codex list, I do not think I've been able to win a single battle in 6th and 7th edition. However, this is the 8th edition reveal. Is there any hope of the faction being reined in? Well, I don't know. There are some interesting things here that Games Workshop have said, and there are some very worrying things. But one thing must be kept in mind when it comes to these faction focus reveals that Games Workshop is doing. They are there to hype the faction. They are there to make the players of that faction be super excited. So, like I said, bear that in mind. I believe that this is slightly propagandaful, this reveal, but I think that it does contain some information that we're going to need to be aware of. But anyway, let's dancing around the subject, let's beating around the bush, let's get right into it. So, straight up, Games Workshop acknowledges that the faction is currently overpowered. It says, Eldar currently bring a plethora of powerful tools to tabletop, potent psychers, the indomitable Wraith Knight, blistering fat war spiders, and of course the infamous scatter laser equipped Wind Rider jetbikes. So they have acknowledged that. They've also acknowledged that they tend to see the same units pop up time and time again. You know, like I said, Warp Spiders, Wraith Knights and jetbikes. So they have said, wouldn't they like to see on the battlefield more of their iconic units? Aspect Warriors, Phoenix Lords, Avatar of Cain, and that is what we will be seeing in future armies of the Eldar. So they go on to say that they're going to be, all Phoenix Lords are going to have a 2+ armor save. They'll be repointed to make all of the choices appealing, and they're more well-rounded, not only tearing bloody sways through enemy combatants, but also boosting the abilities of friendly Aspect Warriors nearby. They also go on to say, if you want to play an Earden Ghost list with the Legions of Silent Wraith constructs, you will now be able to do that. To be fair, I often did face a lot of fucking Wraith Guard and Wraith units in the current Eldar armies, but whatever. They're still going to have battle focus, they're still going to have guide, doom and fortune. They've now also acknowledged an interesting thing, Footdar lists. are going to be heavy infantry-based Eldar lists, almost pure infantry Eldar lists, are now going to be very viable, which is something I actually welcome. You know, I love pure infantry lists. So if the Eldar are getting some kind of pure infantry, potential, then that's cool. You know, I'm actually okay with that. Footdar is, you never see it. Now, they then go on to mention some of the units like Striking Scorpions and Howling Banshees. Striking Scorpions are a unit which are currently not ever really seen because this is the thing, because they're okay. In an Eldar Codex full of overpowered bullshit units, the Striking Scorpions are often left at home, not because they're weak. Fucking hell, I would love to be able to take Striking Scorpions in a guard army, but because Striking Scorpions in comparison to the rest of the Eldar Codex are weak. Basically, Striking Scorpions are now going to be able to dish out mortal wounds. Their Mandy Blasters now do mortal wounds. We don't know how many mortal wounds. We don't know if they'll be able to do it every phase or if it'll be the phase they charge. But it is looking like Striking Scorpions are going to be dishing out mortal wounds by the handful. Considering mortal wounds are kind of the new D weapon, essentially means that Striking Scorpions are now going to be armed with fucking the new kind of D weapon, which is crazy. Makes them very, very powerful in close combat. How do I feel about that as a guard player? I don't think I actually give a shit. Interestingly, if my Eldar opponent wants to take a big block of Striking Scorpions and he wants to do a lot of mortal wounds to my guardsmen, then he can go ahead and do that, because I don't give a shit whether my guardsmen live or die. Does it affect me? Does it still affect me? Of course it does. You know, mortal wounds can be done to vehicles. If you now have Striking Scorpions able to do mortal wounds against Leman Russes and stuff, you'll see your armour melting very quickly. So it's important to protect your tanks. Very, very important to protect your tanks, guys, against Striking Scorpions. So what I'm looking here is that classic guard bubble wrap of conscripts and guardsmen is still going to be needed. Whilst we're probably going to be spamming as many exterminator Leman Russes as we can get, we're still going to need to be able to protect them against things like mortal wounds from Striking Scorpions. So there we go. Striking Scorpions are going to be very powerful now. They'll still need some kind of delivery system, but considering it mentions the fact that they are the masters of stealth, I don't doubt that they will be able to get straight into the fight very quickly. Going on to the next unit that they are buffing up, Howling Banshees. Long story short, they will always go first. Even if you charge, a Howling Banshee will go first. That's obviously a bit of a ball ache, because, well, let's be honest, it's nothing quite like executing a good bayonet charge against an opponent, and I thought that would be buffed now for us, but apparently you don't want to be bayonet charging Howling Banshees at all. Now, is it actually a big deal to us? Again, no, because the enemy always went first. The Eldar always went first against us guard players anyway. So, essentially, guys, when taking on Howling Banshees, it's business as usual for the guard, because they always went before us anyway. And then they go on about the Avatar of Cain. His weapon is now... I didn't know. I very rarely saw the Avatar of Cain fielded, but when I did, he did always seem to do quite well. They essentially say the Avatar of Cain is going to be an absolute fucking beast. He has an ability that he can ignore mortal wounds. Okay. He will be better protected than ever while filling your army with this fighting spirit of Kayla Menshar Cain. Apologies to if I have butchered that pronunciation. So essentially he's going to do what he currently does, which is buff the shit out of people around him whilst being able to chop the shit out of anything that he comes across. His gun essentially, his sword essentially has the new melter rule. Something I forgot to mention in the shooting profile video is the fact that we did actually see the rules for melter revealed there. Melter now is it does d6 wounds, and you roll 2 dice and pick the highest, or in this case discard the lowest. Doesn't make any difference. You roll 2 dice and discard the lowest when it comes to inflicting wounds. So no longer do you have 2 dice and you add them together. For armor penetration, you now roll 2 dice and pick the highest, which means on average you'll be inflicting 4+ wounds, which is great. So obviously that is a nice little buff for our melter guns. Means that the Lascannon melter gun spam that I have been advocating for a while now will be even more potent, because you'll be doing d6 wounds to any big gribbly that's charging down your throat. So, in summary, Eldar faction focus. I have the sickening feeling that the Eldar are going to be just as overpowered as they currently are. However, I'm hoping that these faction focus reveals of Games Workshops are more just to get people excited, to get their fans hyped, and to get people to start opening their wallets, because I know a lot of people that aren't buying any models from Games Workshop until 8th edition drops, and I believe that these faction focus videos are to try and get people to keep opening their wallets until 8th edition actually drops. I imagine this was done by Games Workshop to shift some boxes of Striking Scorpions and Howling Banshees by savvy players who want to prepare for the upcoming edition. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Tell me what you think. Do you also believe that Eldar are going to continue to be super overpowered? Have you guys noticed something that indicates that Eldar will actually be fairly weak? Or will 8th edition once again be the edition that we live under the tyranny of the Eldar competitive lists? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.